Welcome to the AI Daily Business Brief with Paul Knox. Can't miss, can't wait news as it happens.
TPUs, Google's powerful chip, bankrolls Claude's future. Welcome to the AI Daily Business Brief. I'm Paul Knox. Today's top story involves chips, deals, and your favorite AI assistant. Anthropic is in talks with Google to secure computing power valued in the high tens of billions. This is not a tiny order. It's a giant pre-order of digital muscle. Think of it like buying all the ovens for your bakery that you could ever need. You buy enough ovens so that the bread never stalls in the oven queue. In tech terms, this ensures that Claude, Anthropic's model, can train and improve without ever waiting in line. So here's what that means. More compute means faster updates and a bigger brain for your chat helpers. And it will affect everyone, not just engineers, because AI is woven into everything from errands to entertainment. Reuters says Google will provide cloud services through the deal, but it is still being finalized. That means this is both a newsflash and a warning. Final signatures matter. Alphabet stock rose after the report, signaling investors' confidence. But what really matters to you is the steady stream of compute that is powering these models that you use, right? When supply runs short, features stall. When supply is abundant, the features in the future arrives on time. Let's dive deeper into what this chip deal really buys. TPUs are specialized chips designed for AI workloads. They differ from GPUs because they are built for matrix math. Securing a long-term supply of TPUs means Anthropic can plan for years and years of experimenting. Tens of billions might sound abstract, so picture this. It's like paying for power for a city several years up front. These chips sit in vast data centers, and each training job consumes a chunk of electricity and cooling. When a company locks in capacity, they avoid pricing swings and shortages. Why this matters for you? Because supply determines how quickly the AI in your phone or your car can learn new tricks. Queue times shrink when there are more chips, and that reduces delays for updates. If there are too few chips, features wait in line like cars at a single lane toll booth. Adding chips is like adding lanes, easing traffic and speeding travel. So when you hear about chip supply deals, think about how soon you'll see new capabilities. It's not about hype, it's about scheduling experiments and launches. And that affects everything from language translation to medical imaging, because these models affect and transact and compute across various domains. So we'll revisit this thread as we look at the metrics and planning later. Now, let's talk about the supply chain behind those chips. So securing compute isn't just paying for hardware, it's reserving space, power, and cooling in specific regions. Data centers need land, water, grid connections, and permits. That means building new data centers can take months or years. By buying future capacity now, Anthropic ensures it doesn't get stuck waiting for building to be finished. Imagine a highway with only 3 lanes during rush hour. If someone adds 2 more lanes, traffic flows better. Those new lanes cost money and require labor and materials, just like new data centers. This is why compute deals matter. They fund construction and guarantee access when the center opens. Training jobs are booked like freight on trains. You need to reserve a slot to run your experiment. If you miss your window, your product might not launch, or it might miss its launch date. So capacity ties directly to product roadmaps. And by diversifying across chips and vendors, companies avoid being trapped into one long queue. We will see later that diversification isn't just a buzzword, it's an operational necessity. Let's shift gears to another headline. Palantir and Lumen just signed a multi-year partnership. Lumen, a telecom company, has agreed to spend more than $200 million on Palantir's software. This is a big signal that AI is being packaged like an internet service. You don't buy raw chips or models, you buy a plan with a price and a service agreement. This partnership integrates Palantir's AI platform with Lumen's network fabric, merging software and brains with physical pipes. So here's what that means. Imagine calling one phone number when your AI goes down, just like you call your internet provider when the Wi-Fi fails. This approach lowers the barrier for small and medium businesses to start adopting AI. It also signals that carriers see AI as a core part of their future revenue. For you, it means a simpler billing and place to go for AI support. If you run a shop, you want a clear plan, not a science project. So with bundling, you can treat AI like a utility, paying for what you use and getting help when it breaks. We'll unpack more on partnerships later when we discuss carriers and new distribution models. Now, let's talk about money flowing into AI infrastructure. Banks are raising roughly $38 billion debt packages to fund data centers tied to Oracle. This is one of the largest debt packages for AI infrastructure ever. What does that number actually mean for you? It means investors are betting big on the demand for compute. Think of it as building power plants for this digital world. More power plants means shorter queues and lower risk of blackouts. But building them isn't trivial. They need land, permits, water, and transmission lines. Sometimes projects get canceled because of local opposition or delays. So when you plan your AI projects, know that physical infrastructure is the long pole in the tent. That's why securing capacity early is prudent. For everyday users, this means fewer slowdowns and more reliable service as these new data centers start to come online. But it also means patience. The benefits won't arrive overnight. Let's look at something a little bit more tangible, a device that you can actually wear. So Galaxy's XR headset launched on October 21st with a price of $1,799. This is the first headset running Android XR, a new platform built just for AI. Gemini is integrated into the system, letting you ask questions about whatever you see. You can control it with hand gestures, eye tracking, and voice. Imagine watching a basketball game and asking how many points does he have. Gemini answers in real time. In the field, a worker can scan a shelf, and the headset will show each task, which can be added up over a day. For entertainment, the device has immersive content like 360-degree videos and games. For work, it supports multiple floating apps, so you can have a browser next to a checklist. The battery pack sits on your belt, reducing weight on your head and improving comfort. Compared with competitors, this headset is lighter than the Vision Pro, but it does have a similar resolution. There's also a controller and travel case available for $249. You can sign up for a demo in select stores and decide if it's a fit for your workflow. Now let's talk about memory and privacy. Anthropic's Claude and other assistants are learning to remember context across sessions. This feature means your preferences carry over between chats, making conversations feel more natural. But memory comes with responsibility. It's like a friendly server remembering your usual order. You should know what the server writes down, where it's kept, and how to erase it, right? So here's a simple plan. Ask vendors to explain what data they store, how they store it, and how you can clear it. Provide a visible forget me button in your apps. Log every toggle and prompt along with geography rules. Publish a privacy change log when memory features change. Building trust with your users. DataGrail, a privacy company, urges businesses to adopt a risk register to track data flows and compliance. Think of the risk register as a to-do list for your privacy. Each dataset has an owner, a purpose, and a retention limit. Fail builds when these fields are missing. You would never launch a product without a test, right? Reliability beats raw IQ every single quarter. Minor incidents in late October, latency spikes, signing glitches, rippled through workflows. Users forgive fewer features, but they don't forgive outages. So building a risk register now, track incidents in minutes by server, and note partial degradation, not only complete outages. Map each failure to its customer impact. Did it delay shipments, or was it just a slow chat? Maintain tables of quotas and burst limits. Quotas fail quietly before they fail loudly. Name the system that breaks when the limits tighten. Design a graceful degradation path. If a large language model rate limit is hit, fall back to a smaller model. Start monthly incident drills. Pick a vendor, pull the plug, and measure how long until you detect and recover. Log times to detect, times to mitigate, and times to notify customers. Tie bonuses to readiness, not slogans. Diversification is not just a slide, it is a routing table. Don't put all of your critical workloads on one model or one region. Ask providers for region-level headroom. Treat capacity calendars like airline load factors. Reserve training windows ahead of time, just like you are booking freight lines. Set up dual home interface. It is a primary on one model, secondary on another. Keep prompts and schemas aligned across vendors to avoid surprises. Document export and steps and legal constraints for each region. Store checkpoints and recipes outside of vendor silos. This doesn't mean that you need to know every single one of your exit paths, but you should ask for metered tokens and cleared burst ladders, not marketing slogans. With diversification, you gain leverage in negotiations and resilience during spikes. It's like having two routes to your house. If one road closes, you can still get home. Let's discuss numbers and why that matters. Start with the cost per million tokens of output. Track it separately for training and inference. This metric shows how efficiently that you are using compute. Next, measure job wait time by priority class. High priority tasks should see a shorter queue. Look beyond the median. Tail latency is where pain lives in these workflows. The 10th percentile might be fine, but the 99th percentile might be hours. Publish backlog age during peak windows. Show how weekends burn queues down. Log eviction and preemption events. If your jobs get bumped, asks why. Track context windows, lengths, and adjust them during heavy backlogs to save tokens. Reuse prompts when possible and use synthetic data to protect labeled data. Every Monday, publish these numbers with annotations. Green means ship, amber means mitigate, red means hold. Tie release gates to these numbers. Numbers keep promises credible, and they align budgets with our reality. Okay, we've covered a lot, so a quick recap of the signals. Signal 1, carriers are selling AI like an internet service. Palantir and Lumen's deal shows that you can buy AI with a plan, a price, and support. If you manage a team, ask your vendors if they offer such package. Signal 2, banks are funding massive data centers. More capacity means faster models, but it takes time to build. Monitor these projects like you monitor road constructions. Delay could affect supply. Signal 3, Samsung's Galaxy XR hints at a future where you could work and play blend both in your goggles. If you have field teams or warehouses, pilot one headset with a clear goal and measure results. Signal 4, reliability and privacy matter more than shine. Set up drills, track metrics, and write one-page run books. These 4 signals help you plan next quarter's projects. Compliance is the new developer tool. SLAs, data locality, and retention drive adoption. Pin training data to its region of origin to comply with local laws. Ask every vendor where they store data, who can access it during incidents, and how you can delete that data. Shorten default logs to business needs. Storing logs forever is going to increase risk. If you document cross-border flows by purpose, list sub-processes, and review them yearly. Require breach notices within 24 hours. Share privacy audits with engineering monthly. Treat privacy like a test. Continuous integration, testing. Fail builds when data apps drift or required metadata is missing. Retain only what you need. Deletion should be a default, not an exception. If you buy AI, ask 3 simple questions. Where is the data? Who can see it? When is it deleted? That's the playbook, the speed for approval, and that is how you lower risk with these newer models. Practice makes perfect. Even in AI operations, write tiny drills for slowdowns and outages. For example, if your main model slows, flip to your backup within a minute, write down the exact steps, who clicks what, where are the buttons, what success looks like. Set latency thresholds that trigger automatic switchover. Don't wait for angry tweets. Record every event with timestamps and payload hashes. Run post-mortems after incidents. Summarize what broke, how long it took to detect, how long it took to fix, and then one improvement to avoid. Archive these reports with dates, owners, and accountability, what matters. If you handle regulated data, design drills for deletion and data subject request. Treat drills like seatbelts, boring but life-saving. Now, let's return to the Galaxy XR and how to pilot it. Pick one job that's repetitive and has clear steps. Shelf checks in a warehouse are a great example of this. Choose a small team that likes testing new things. Run a baseline, a week without the headset, measure time per task and error rate, then run 2 weeks with the headset, showing instructions in a view and tracking voice commands. Record whether tasks go faster and whether errors drop. In the final week, cool down and gather feedback. What worked? What was annoying? What improved? Compare labor savings to the cost of the headset and its accessories. If the savings outweigh the cost, scale slowly. If not, shelve the idea and revisit later. Remember that early adopters pay more. Prices often drop after the first year. Carriers are becoming AI resellers. They own the pipes that connect factories, warehouses, and offices. By bundling AI with connectivity, they reduce friction and shorten pilots. In the Palantir Lumen deal, the carrier integrates as an AI platform with its network fabric. So a business can buy bandwidth and inference at the same time. This model could include tiered quotas, audit trials, and service levels. Ask carriers for industry-specific guides. Regulated industries may need special templates. Lean on carrier field engineers to help with deployment. They know the cables and the clients. Measure payback gates like cost per task and cycle time reduction. Partnerships beat slide decks. Mechanics beat rhetoric. Financing and supply deals are not limited to one company. Other players are raising capital for compute, often tied to specific substations and locations. For example, banks are financing a huge campus in Texas while also funding a data center in Wisconsin. These deals show that compute is becoming as capital intensive as power plants are. But they also highlight risk. If permits or transmissions or planning stalls, projects can be canceled or delays. Hedge by reserving time in multiple regions and by building modular infrastructure that can move if needed. Treat capacity calendars like flight manifests. Book early, monitor changes, and adjust if the line goes down. Ask providers to share energization dates and interconnect diagrams so that you can plan releases around them. Use sensitivity analysis. What happened to your queue times if capacity is delayed, and by what in the next quarter. Rebalance contracts proactively as new supply comes on, and we continue to see these new players, new markets, new options, and new projects. Back office adoption of AI is quietly leading the charges. Finance teams own invoices and audits and can benefit from the largest chunk of workflow automations we're seeing come to market. On October 21st, 2025, SAP highlighted agents workflows where travel and expense bots call models to categorize receipts. This mirrors a pattern in a lot of the stacks that we see where it splits workloads by intensity and urgency. Keep personally identifiable information bound to regional inference services. Route heavy classification tasks to reserved TPU windows. Send optical character recognition jobs to cheaper compute lanes. Define your KPIs before touching prompts. Maybe target a 2-minute ticket reduction. Track cost per 1,000 processed documents weekly. Add escalation rates and human intervention time. If humans fix too much, revise the prompt or the workflows. Pilot in one country and in one format. Gather false positives with screenshots, and then train the agents to defer when unsure. Create a rollback to switch back to the user interface so operators can disable the bot quickly. Local permits decide global AI timelines. Projects can be pulled if municipal reviews, transmission planning, or water rights become obstacles. Applied Digital recently canceled a campus in Texas because of permit and transmission issues. Expect interconnection studies to stretch for quarters. There's no way to rush this type of grid. Construction slots and steel cost bites. Neighbors may contest truck traffic or cooling towers, so assume some projects will be canceled or delayed. Hedge by diversifying across regions and by using modular builds that can move if one region or if one site fails. Ask providers for their permit schedules and political risk assessment. Treat local politics as a risk, just like any other technical debt. Lighthouse programs help industries adopt AI safely. For example, Tetra Science named Takeda a scientific AI lighthouse in biopharma. Define a cohort and a permitted data set for your lighthouse project. Share KPIs such as validation accuracy, cycle times, and retraining cycles. Publish the redacted standard operating procedures so that other teams can now replicate this workflow. Let quantity and procurement co-author templates for vendor selection. Add runbooks for instrument drift and measurement errors. Measure time from alert to action. One credible lighthouse unlocks the entire fleet. Borrow a reference, so if you lack your own, you can learn from peers. Capital inflows can create bubbles. Some executives warn that not every AI deal makes sense. Interest rates influence financing terms. Cheap money fuels big bets, but rates can rise. Do sensitivity tests. What happens if cost of capital rises by 1 percentage point? How do queue times change if supply is delayed, but demand keeps growing? Rebalancing your contracts proactively. Lock in lower prices when you have the leverage. Watch for signs of overbuilding. Ask whether there are enough customers to fill all of those racks. Consider contracting for short terms with options rather than long, irrevocable commitments. Risk is part of innovation. Manage it with data rather than optimization. We return to our theme, reliability versus raw IQ. Users reward steady service over these newer flashy demos. Build an exit dossier. So you want to list your schemas, fine tunes, and your custom tools. Document how to export everything cleanly and update this quarterly. Maintain ceiling and burst tables for quotas. Note which systems break when said limits tighten. Design a graceful degradation cache high-value completions, pin critical prompts into static fallbacks, and run canaries to measure latency. Switch providers automatically when thresholds are breached. Log every switch with time and reason. Tell customers success before social media flares. Silence is better than chaos during incidents. Practice Incident Wednesday every month. Pick a vendor, pull the plug, track a detection and mitigation times, and then score the drill. Tie bonuses to readiness and resilience, not just new features. Let's dive deeper into memory and policy again. Build a living privacy risk register, which is something that we recommend to everybody with some of these new workflows. Every data set needs a steward, a purpose, and a certain retention period. Log toggles, prompts, and purposes for each session. Bind memory scopes to regions. Surface violations like failing tests. Automation should flag when data flows outside of the set scope. Publish a morning red, amber, green board. Green means deploy. Amber means remediate. Red means to stop. Timebox exceptions. So if you do need to keep data longer than the set's expiry date, make sure that is a time-boxed exception, and offer users a visual flush button and track opt-out rates. Those numbers will show your your client trust. Update privacy policies with absolute dates, not vague phrases like soon. Remember that compliance becomes velocity when it is automated. So audits feel boring now, but later have their purpose. We're nearing the end, so let's bring it all together. There has been massive chip deals that are shaping AI timelines more than clever algorithms. The Anthropic Google talks show that compute is the gatekeeper. AI is being packaged like a utility, as shown by Palantir and Lumen's partnership. New devices like Samsung's Galaxy XR hint at a mixed reality future. Banks are funding digital power plants to feed these models, and yet reliability and privacy matter more than a lot of the dazzling demos we're seeing. Your next steps are simple. Ask your vendor 3 questions about data, capacity, and backups. Track a few metrics. Run tiny drills. Pilot new devices thoroughly. Remember that steady beats shiny. I'm Paul Knox. This was your AI Daily Business Brief for October 24th, 2025, 1 story you can act on and 4 signals you can price in. Join us next time for dated moves and measurable steps.